Keep him or trade him? What should the Red Sox do with Connor Wong this offseason? And should the Red Sox look to potentially bring back Danny Jansen? Who's available in free agency? We'll discuss.
You are listening to the Obstructed View Red Sox podcast, presented by Beyond the Monster.
Welcome back. It's a brand new episode of the Obstructed View Baseball Podcast, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. I'm your host, Chris Henrik, and I am joined by my co-host, Jamie Gatlin.
And pumped to be talking baseball again.
We are. We're going to be talking backup catchers and who the Red Sox should potentially either re-sign or who the Red Sox could target in free agency this offseason. A couple of quick housekeeping notes before we get started. If you're a first-time listener or you've listened to this podcast before, we're going to do things a little bit differently during the off-season. We're going to bring you shorter episodes. So we're going to bring you 10, 12-minute shows. We're going to discuss a topic. There'll be a various rotating door of different co-hosts that'll help us out and generate some discussion. And we'll also have player interviews. Those will go standard. There won't be really much of a time limit. But for the purpose of these episodes, there'll be a time limit. Also, please make sure that you're checking out To the Show We Go Baseball podcast, available with Beyond the Monster. We are recording player interviews, and they're going to be dropping at a rapid speed. So if you would like to listen to Red Sox minor leaguers, Red Sox 40-man coaches, you name it, through the Sox system, we're going to be interviewing them, and those podcasts will be available during the off season. All right. We've already cut into our small window here. The Red Sox have some decisions they need to make when it comes to the catching position. It's not a must, top of the list need to address, but they're going to have to make some decisions. The emergence of Kyle Teel. There is a chance that if he has a good spring in 2025, he could break the camp with the Red Sox, and it could be him and Connor Wong. There's also something to be said that maybe there's a chance that Connor Wong gets traded this offseason. He had a really good offensive season. He hit 280. He hit 13 home runs. He had 24 doubles. He had a triple, 52 RBI, but he only walked 28 times. On top of that, he had a 758 OPS in 126 games. He hit a wall in the second half, and he completely plummeted. Defensively, he was not good. He ranked in the third percentile in terms of blocking, 9th percentile in framing, according to StatCast. Those are not good numbers. We saw the Red Sox flirt around and have him play some other positions. I guess my first question would be are you cashing in on Connor Wong right now in this in the offseason and dangle him in a trade? Maybe you get a reliever. Maybe you get another young arm that you can kind of roll the dice on. Or is he someone that you need to platoon with Kyle Teel and in the catching situation? We look elsewhere.
He's a guy on the right deal I would consider trading. I think, when he dipped in the second half, that hurt his value a lot just in terms of his future with the Sox. I think up to that point, I would have said keep him, no doubt. His defense has been great the last 2 years, which I feel like is a big area of concern. And he really came down to earth hard in the second half. If you can dangle him to get a really good reliever, be part of that package, I feel like improving that is more pressing. You could kind of find a guy to fill in until Teal's ready. So it's the right deal, and you can get an impact piece to help the pen or the rotation. I would include, I wouldn't hesitate to include him in a deal if that came up.
Under team control through 2028, so there's value there. I also want to mention, I didn't mention this when I was going over some of those stats. He had 447 at-bats last season. He struck out 114 times. He had 114 strikeouts to 28 walks. He's not selective at all.
Yeah.
And we've seen at moments last season with the Red Sox offense, when they clicked, they clicked. When they didn't, they didn't. And it's stuff like that I think Craig Breslow is going to take a hard look at and say, how are you getting on base? And when you have a guy, and again, you're not expecting your catchers to be, out of this world hitters, but you got some production out of there. But he only walked 28 times, and to me, that is a little bit of alarming with his offensive game. Again, not a deal breaker. Defensively, though, I mean, he was one of the worst framers in all of baseball. He ranked 57th out of 59th out of 59 catchers with a -7 for framing runs. He ranked in the lower percentile for blocks above average at -12, and his pop time is 1.95. From a nerd standpoint, not good. Yes. Those are not good numbers, right? So what can the Red Sox do to fix that? There's a reason they got Danny Jansen. I think that is outside of the notion of, well, we need another right-handed hitter. Yeah. I initially thought when the Red Sox traded for Danny Jansen that Danny Jansen was going to be the guy that they were going to re-sign this offseason, and they were going to package Connor Wong and move on, and they would go with Danny Jansen and a Kyle Teal and sign a handful of veterans. I still think that's what the Red Sox are going to do. I just feel like you have an opportunity to cash in on Connor Wong, and I think they're going to do that. Just from an offensive standpoint, Danny Jansen was better than him. He was in the 100th percentile in blocks above average. He had 15. He had a better pop time at 1.99. He, however, hit 188 with the Red Sox. Small offensive sample size, and I would challenge Red Sox fans who strictly look at batting average and home runs, and they hold that close to their heart, and it's like gospel for them. I would just kind of caution you and say he had 80 at bats.
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing is he had extremely small sample size.
But statistically, he's hit very well at Fenway Park, and I'm curious as to what a full season at Fenway Park would look like. What does those numbers look like? Is he the same Danny Jansen that didn't hit in Toronto and with the Red Sox? I think you can live with a low batting average with a little bit of pop if the metrics behind the plate and your pitching staff, improves and takes a step forward. The pitching staff and that pitching development is not just what Andrew Bailey and Justin Willard and all those other guys are doing. It's how are these catchers preparing, and how do these pitchers look when these catchers are catching them? Yeah. 2 years ago, a prime example, the Red Sox had Alfaro down in Worcester. The pitchers with Alfaro versus the pitchers of the rest of the catching staff was night and day. The second Alfaro left, it was as if like the light switch flipped for half those guys. Some guys are just not good behind the dish. And I'm not saying that's Connor Wong's full story, but this year the numbers really are out there to really kind of challenge you and say, maybe the Red Sox should trade Connor Wong. Maybe you should sign Danny Jansen. I'm going to give you some other guys to kind of think about and kind of want your opinion here.
Yeah.
One name that the Red Sox were linked to last offseason was Gary Sanchez. Now, for Gary Sanchez to become a free agent, the mutual option between him and the Brewers needs to be declined. He slashed 220 with 11 homers, 37 RBIs, part-time duty, played 89 games. He ranked in the 56th percentile at caught stealing above average. Same thing. You got Connor Wong numbers.
Yeah.
Pop time, not good, 1.96. So can you live with, again, bad defense, but you're gonna get better pop with Gary Sanchez than you are Connor Wong? To me, I think it's a wash. I think it's like the same thing, and I'm not interested.
I was gonna say if Sanchez is the replacement to do that, I wouldn't go for it just because, like you said, it's the same player. If they're gonna swatch out Connor, I want to upgrade, not the same guy. Maybe you get a couple more home runs and you have more of that, name attached to it because of his prospect status and what he did, with the Yankees and everything that comes with that. But I feel like he's essentially the same player as Wong, just older.
Another option is going to be Kyle. I'm gonna butcher his name.
Higashioka.
I do it every single time. From the Padres, he was former Yankee. Higashioka. He was Garrett Cole's primary catcher when he was in New York. He caught the likes of Michael King, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish this year with San Diego. He is a better framer, which will help you steal strikes. And at the big league level, they don't have the automatic strike zone, so that's going to help. And maybe that will help with the younger pitching staff, which the Red Sox do have. He also ranked in the 27th percentile for caught stealing at a -2, and that's a massive jump up from what you had with Connor Wong. Offensively, he had a good year, but I think a good offensive catcher that's not like, a Salvador Perez, that style of player. Everything you get offensively is gravy. I would be open to him as an option behind the plate.
Yeah, I would be fine with him. I feel like he gives you a little more offensively. He's caught some really good pitchers and been in the postseason, which I feel like guys with Crawford, Houck, we saw Crawford more. Some of those young guys kind of hit a wall in the second half. I feel like you have a veteran catcher like that could kind of benefit them. I know they'll have Giolito and they want to make moves for more established pitching, but that will go a long way. I feel like he's a good, solid ball player. I would definitely want him over Gary Sanchez every single day.
I think another name that I want to throw out there, and I don't necessarily know how much of this may make sense, but I'm going to throw it out there. Wilson Contreras is somebody that is, for example, he's going to be he's going to be 33 going into the 2025 season. He's got $18 million over the next 2 years due to him, 18.5 in 2027, and he has a team option for 17.5 in 2028. We all know that the Red Sox need to move Masataka Yoshida. The odds of getting anything of significance for Yoshida right now is going to be slim because of his shoulder surgery. Let's just say, though, that Chaim Bloom is still in love with Masataka Yoshida. Now, granted, Chaim is not officially the guy in charge of St. Louis next year, but he's going to have a massive say on what the team is going to do. But let's just say that Chaim Bloom still has a twinkle in his eye, so to speak, for Yoshida. If the Red Sox were to finagle some cash, also look at a prospect package. They do need pitching, and Sonny Gray to me is intriguing because he's going to be available. But I wonder if the Cardinals would potentially dangle a 33-year-old catcher. You're kind of washed in that respect, but at least he can platoon with Kyle Teal. He can play some other positions, play the outfield. The only caveat to that is his age, but he is a right-handed hitter.
True. I mean, I feel like the Cardinals are going to be a very fun team to watch this offseason. We already saw them talk about Arenado probably being dealt a couple days ago. I would like to say Contreras in the Red Sox lineup. I feel like that'd be fun to see, especially if you can attach it to getting a pitching prospect. And I do like how you can kind of play him all over the diamond a little bit. It's not like he's etched into he's just catching. That's all you're going to get. So I'd be very interested in that, especially if you can get a guy like Sonny Gray, just some pitcher with kind of high upside that you can stick in the rotation and give you more options and kind of kill two birds with one stone.
And I'm kind of just spitballing, and I'm not saying like this is something concrete. The Red Sox should do this. It's just I'm just trying to think of some outside the box things, and I think Wilson Contreras is an outside the box name. I wonder if maybe you could throw a first baseman glove on him and kind of show him the position, kind of like what you did with Kyle Schwarber, especially if you end up going and trading Tristan Casas, which we'll talk about in a future episode. But let's say that happens, and maybe Devers slides to first, and you're looking for some other combinations. Is a guy like Wilson Contreras a right-handed hitting option that maybe you could put a first baseman glove on, and he can play that position? It's an option, but again, I don't think that it's high of priority at this point because the Yoshida injury completely throws a massive curveball in everything. All right, we're getting close to that time where we're gonna have to wrap up this episode, but a couple other things. Kyle Teal, again, knocking at the door. He's going to be with the Red Sox at some point, maybe when they break camp, maybe a couple months into the season. I'm not going to say that Mickey Gasper is an option. To to be the backup catcher with the Red Sox. He didn't look good at all at the big league level. I think he's that fringe. I think he's going to be the Tyler Heineman of this past year. That's going to give them that depth. I do think he's going to get DFA'd at some point when the Red Sox need to open up
roster spots.
But beyond that, the market free agent wise, not good. I mean, you got Carson Kelly, who I would say, for me, I'm open to, but after that is Monty Grandal, Austin Hedges. I mean, Hedges is good defensively, offensively. He's not the greatest. Elias Diaz, he's got some pop in the bat. Jacob Stallings, the Red Sox are interested in him like 2 years ago.
Former Pirates legend.
James McCann, I think that the Orioles are going to retain him. If you're looking for a low cost and you don't want to spend to fulfill that spot, maybe he's a guy. They're going to have to get some veterans to stash in Worcester as well.
Kirk Casale, Maley, or something like that.
Who?
Kirk Casale or Luke Maley, also older catchers on the free agent.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to make some decisions there. But I think the overall consensus, at least for me anyway, is: am I upset if the Red Sox bring Connor Wong back going into 2025? Nope, I'm completely cool with him being there. I just think that the Red Sox are going to utilize his value this offseason, contractual value, what he did offensively, and try to upgrade through free agency or a trade and utilize his value to get them something else they might need, whether it's a reliever, maybe he's packaging a deal to get a starter. I think that's ultimately what they're going to do.